Despite the silence in the air, the underworld of Britain is far from quiet. Violent gangs continue to tighten their grip on the criminal landscape, operating with a ruthless efficiency that few can match. Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy world of UK gangland, with insights from former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley. The gang landscape in London has changed dramatically over the last few decades. Today, Albanian gangs like the notorious Helbanians dominate the city's cocaine trade, an industry worth billions of pounds. Violence, torture, and murder are their tools of the trade, and their influence extends far beyond just the drug trade. These gangs have a stranglehold on parts of London's nighttime economy, making them a new and present threat to our society. But to truly understand how they rose to power, we need to look at the socio-economic factors that allowed these gangs to thrive. In the 1990s, London underwent significant changes. Economic downturns, coupled with cuts in social services, created an environment ripe for criminal enterprises. As traditional employment opportunities declined, many young people found themselves with few prospects. This void was quickly filled by organized crime groups, offering quick money through illicit means. These gangs initially started as small-time operations, dealing in stolen goods or small amounts of drugs. However, as they became more organized and established connections with international criminal networks, their operations expanded dramatically. Today, these gangs are highly sophisticated with connections that stretch from London to Eastern Europe, South America, and beyond. Their control over the cocaine trade has made them incredibly wealthy, and with wealth comes power, power that they wield with brutal efficiency. Back in the 80s and 90s, the Addams family was synonymous with organized crime in London. They ruled with an iron fist, corrupting many in their wake. Their downfall came not from local law enforcement but from the security services. Yet despite their reduced influence today, they remain a significant concern. The Addams family, often referred to as the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate, controlled vast swaths of London's criminal underworld. They were involved in everything from drug trafficking to extortion, and their network of corrupt police officers allowed them to operate with near impunity for years. But the story of the Addams family is more than just one of power and corruption. It's a story of how organized crime adapts and evolves. Even after many of its members were arrested or went into hiding, the Addams family's influence persisted. They became a blueprint for how modern gangs operate, maintaining a low profile while pulling the strings from the shadows. Today, many of the neighborhoods that were once their strongholds have gentrified, with hip coffee shops and luxury apartments replacing the gritty streets of the past. But the legacy of the Addams family is still felt, particularly in how gangs today use similar methods to maintain their power. David Hunt, a man who outwardly appears to be a legitimate businessman, was exposed in court as a gangster deeply entrenched in organized crime. Living in luxury, Hunt represents the dark side of wealth. Wealth built on the suffering and exploitation of others. Don't be fooled by appearances. Behind the glamour lies a criminal empire. Hunt's operations extend far beyond the borders of the UK, with connections to international drug trafficking, money laundering, and even human trafficking. Hunt's story is a reminder that organized crime is not confined to the shadows. These criminals often blend into society, using their wealth and influence to avoid detection. It took years of investigative journalism and a determined legal battle to expose Hunt for what he truly is, a gangster. Many of the wealthiest individuals in our society have ties to organized crime, yet they operate with relative impunity. It's a sobering reminder that crime doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a suit and tie. One of the most alarming trends in recent years has been the rise of youth violence and youth gangs. These groups, often driven by the drug trade, have turned parts of our great capital city into battlegrounds. The tide of teenage bloodshed is unacceptable, and it's a problem that law enforcement struggles to contain. The complexities and dangers of youth gangs make them a formidable challenge. But to understand why these gangs are so prevalent, we need to look at the root causes. Many of these young people come from broken homes with little to no support from their communities. Schools and social services are often underfunded and overwhelmed, leaving these kids vulnerable to the lure of gang life. The promise of quick money, protection, and a sense of belonging can be incredibly appealing to those who feel they have no other options. But once these young people are in, getting out is nearly impossible. The fear of retribution, both from their own gang and rival groups, keeps them trapped in a cycle of violence and crime. Law enforcement alone cannot solve this problem. It requires a concerted effort from communities, social services, and policymakers to provide alternatives to gang life. There are programs out there making a difference, offering young people a way out, but they need more support, more funding, and more recognition. The fight against youth gangs is not just a fight against crime, it's a fight for the future of our communities. In Birmingham, the situation is so severe that the Serious Crime Squad has had to double in size. Around 40 gangs operate in the city, controlling large swaths of criminal activity. Shows like Peaky Blinders have romanticized the city's gang history, but today's gangs like the 247-365 and the Burger Boys are far from glamorous. Their connections to international crime syndicates make them a significant threat. Birmingham's gangs are involved in a wide range of criminal activities, from drug trafficking to human trafficking, from fraud to the theft of high-value vehicles. Their reach extends beyond the city, with links to other gangs across the UK and abroad. The scale and complexity of gang activity in Birmingham make it one of the most challenging areas for law enforcement. The gangs are highly organized, with a strict hierarchy and a code of silence that makes infiltrating them incredibly difficult. The people of Birmingham have had to endure the consequences of gang violence for far too long. Entire neighborhoods have been blighted by crime, with young people caught in the crossfire. It's a situation that demands urgent action both from law enforcement and from the community itself. Liverpool is another city where gangs have a terrifying presence. From the Croxteth-based Crocker crew to the Nogsy Boys of Norris Green, these groups are responsible for countless tit-for-tat killings. One of the most heartbreaking examples of gang violence was the tragic death of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt Corbell. Her life was cruelly taken in a gang-related shooting, a stark reminder of the innocent lives caught in the crossfire. The murder of Olivia Pratt Corbell shocked the nation, but for those living in Liverpool it was a tragic reminder of the daily reality of gang violence. Innocent lives are lost, families are torn apart, and communities are left to pick up the pieces. Liverpool's gangs are deeply entrenched in the city's criminal underworld. They control the drug trade, extort local businesses, and use violence to maintain their power. The police have made significant efforts to crack down on these gangs, but the challenge is immense. But the fight is not just about law enforcement, it's about building stronger communities. Across Liverpool, people are coming together to support one another, to stand up to the gangs, and to create a safer environment for future generations. The people of Liverpool have shown incredible strength and resilience in the face of gang violence. They refuse to be intimidated, and they're fighting back in the best way they know how, by coming together and refusing to let fear rule their lives. Manchester's gangs are among the most feared in the UK. From the A-Team, led by Paul Massey, to the Cheetham Hill Gang, these groups are known for their brutal methods. The gangs in Manchester are incredibly dangerous. They're well-armed, highly organized, and willing to use extreme violence to protect their interests. Infiltrating these groups is one of the most dangerous jobs in law enforcement, but it's also one of the most necessary. The impact of gang violence in Manchester is devastating. Entire neighborhoods have been blighted by crime, with families living in fear of the next outbreak of violence. The police have made significant strides in tackling these gangs, but the fight is far from over. Across Manchester, people are fighting back. Community leaders are working to build trust between the police and local residents, to offer young people alternatives to gang life, and to create safer neighborhoods for everyone. Northern Ireland's gangland is unique, shaped by decades of sectarian conflict. While the violence of the past has lessened, the criminal underworld remains active, with drug dealing and other crimes continuing to plague the region. The Kinahan family is a prime example of how Northern Ireland's criminal activities have globalized, with their operations reaching across Europe and beyond. They've built a vast criminal empire, one that's earned them the attention of law enforcement agencies around the world. The Kinahans are not just a local problem, they're an international one. Their operations extend across borders, from Spain to South America, and their influence reaches deep into the global drug trade. It's a testament to how far-reaching and sophisticated organized crime has become. Dismantling the Kinahan network is no easy task. It requires international cooperation, intelligence gathering, and a relentless pursuit of justice. But the stakes are high. If we don't stop them, their influence will only continue to grow. But Northern Ireland is also a place of hope. Despite its troubled past, the people here are working hard to build a better future. They're rejecting the violence and criminality that once defined their communities, and they're striving to create a society based on peace and prosperity. The road to peace in Northern Ireland has been long and difficult, but the progress that's been made is undeniable. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is always hope for a brighter future. Glasgow once had a dreadful reputation for violence, much of it gang-related. Although significant progress has been made, gangs like the Lyons and the Daniels families continue to feud, often resorting to violence to settle their disputes. No matter where these gangs operate, their currency is violence. It's a world that should be avoided at all costs. But the story of Glasgow is also one of redemption, a city that has worked tirelessly to overcome its violent past. Across Glasgow there are people making a difference. From youth outreach programs to initiatives aimed at supporting victims of gang violence, the city is fighting back. It's a fight that requires the support of everyone, from law enforcement to community leaders to the citizens themselves. Glasgow's story is one of resilience and determination. The city has made significant strides in reducing gang violence, but the work is far from over. It's a reminder that the fight against organized crime is never truly finished. It requires constant vigilance and effort. Thank you for watching. If you found this deep dive into the UK's gangland both informative and eye-opening, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video. Let us know in the comments what we missed and on what gang you want to see a video. Thank you.